Hello, Duke Grinder here. Today in this video, I'm going to talk about what we call in the martial arts Nomind, in the Japanese. That's Mushin. Nomind, very simply, is a skill that's derived by practicing over and over and over again perfect forms so much and so often that your mind no longer really has to think about how to do it. It just does. As an example, outside of the fighting arts, we can think of, for example, say at our house or our apartment, there might be somewhere where there's, a couple steps that we have to take to get to a door or up to a landing or something like that. And when we first move in or go visit somebody, if we don't pay real good and strict attention to taking those steps, one by one, we might trip on them a little bit. But in time, somebody who lives there or goes there all the time and does that repetitive go over those steps and walks over those steps time and time and time and time and time again, that individual then really doesn't have to think about doing that anymore because their spirit mind, their perception does that for them. Oddly enough, there are times, I'm sure, I certainly do this, where I will have too many mind when I'm walking up some of those types of stair situations, and I'll trip. Too many mind meaning that I have so many other things consciously working in my mind. What am I doing next? I need to talk to a student about this. I gotta ask my wife what she needs me to help her do, on the to-do list or whatever. There's too many things in my mind, and I haven't gotten good enough at multitasking so many things at one time. So if those things get stuck in my head, then my no mind can't work for some of those other things nearly as well, and I might get caught by that unfortunate situation. In fighting arts, first and foremost, the way we get good at no mind is we do a lot of pel work. It has to be good and perfect pel work, not bad habits. Although bad habits, if trained a lot, will transmit right into your fighting and your no mind, and we don't ever want that. But good pel work, lots of sparring, lots of fighting on the field, attack defense drills, those things where we're just practicing in a repetitive nature over and over and over again, those 3, 4, 5 different cuts that are our standard, go-tos. And sometimes the teachers and students of the art will describe no mind, by the way, as being your lizard mind. Instead of it being called no mind, they'll call it lizard mind. Same exact thing. It's in your back brainstem of your head, in your lizard mind, lizard brain, and it's working for you without you really having to think about it. But that's the whole point. The whole point is through repetitive, good practice of these things, we become able to do them without thinking about them. So first and foremost, it's doing all that practice of these things to start to get better at it. And then eventually you'll start to do some of these things in a state of no mind, and you'll look back at it and say, oh, I didn't even think about swinging at that opponent's head. I just did, and I hit him. That was pretty neat. Well, that's no mind. The more you try to obtain no mind, the harder it is, because trying to consciously obtain a thing means that you have too many mind, and then therefore you can't have no mind. So it's a very counterintuitive skill set we have to enjoy learning through the positives and negatives of this particular skill, and define nature of ourselves. Once we've gotten pretty good at doing a lot of this pel work and fighting and the repetitive nature of those things, the next step on being able to get better at Nomind is to get on the pel and to do what I like to call closed eye pel work. Okay, so I'm going to show that now, but in very brief explanation, it means going to your pel, making sure you're at the proper range with your eyes open and doing some cuts and attacks to the pel, and then closing your eyes, calming your spirit and dropping your center in the oneness of yourself, and then doing those same pel cuts but with your eyes closed. Okay, by doing them with your eyes closed, you're affirming with your physical vision and your mind that says, I need to be able to see something. You're saying to it, hey, I don't really need to see that thing to do a thing. Okay, this gets into also the start of increasing the range and the sixth sense of our perception as well. So no mind here. Okay, so and by the way, I'm going to be closing my eyes when I say, and now I'm closing my eyes, but it's going to be really hard for you to see that I've closed my eyes because the nature of the video and the distance in between us, and my eyes are always half closed anyway, just the way my physiology works. But basically, we're going to go on guard, right? Whatever your guard is, and then we're going to, range to the target, make sure we can hit it, right? By using our eyes to make sure, and our skills, right? And then once we've done that, I'm going to close my eyes and do the same cut, right? Okay, that was with my eyes closed. And so then you just practice that. And as you get better at it and confident, and this is really, it's not that hard. As long as you've done that repetitive work to begin with your eyes open, and you've gotten good at various cutting techniques. We don't want to try a brand new technique with our eyes closed, by the way. That would just be silly and unfortunate. But if I'm here cutting to the head, then I close my eyes, right? Same thing. It's just the nature of that repetition causes me to be able to do that. Okay? The nature of this also demands that you start to realize that your balance naturally is somewhat created by your vision and seeing the floor and the objects around you and receiving that visual data from all around you to define in a fairly decent way where all this stuff is, and then that's a particular part of the formula that gives you the best balance. So when you do things with your eyes closed, if you're not used to that, especially when you're swinging a sword and moving your body, the nature of your balance is going to feel weird until you get used to that. And again, that's why we have to calm ourselves and drop into our center and start that practice and then gain that confidence. So that's Nomind, and I would like to suggest that as you start down this path, that you do cutting just to your standard, whatever head cut is your standard go-to that you've practiced over and over and over again. And by the way, when I say practiced a lot, I'm talking, have you done it 1,000 times? Right? I mean, it should be a lot, right? It should be, you know, you've done it, 1,000 times and fought for a couple years. This isn't something that you want to, get involved in right away in your path. But it's starting to drive the ability to eventually be able to see the combat in a much better and more profound way. And that's a whole nother lesson, and that's a lot farther down the road. We're talking 5 years probably for a fighter that's fought a lot before I would be having that conversation. And that's just a tiny piece of that pie that probably doesn't make much sense. But anyway, that's Nomind, Mushin. Hope you enjoyed it.